Surely the long list of excuses from Mikel Arteta can't go on, can it?
It can.
They're very different to the Premier League ball, and you have to adapt to that because it flies different.
Well, I'm here to talk about why a certain German striker, Mr. Nick Woltemade, might be the latest excuse rather than the ball for Arteta as we take a closer look at Newcastle versus Arsenal. It's all coming up, Newcastle fans, so if you're curious, do me a little favour and make sure you stick around. Welcome back to Black White Banter, ladies and gentlemen. Get up. I hope all is well, and if you are new round here, do me a little favour before we get into this full Arsenal match preview. Whack that little likey loo. First and foremost, it goes a long way, more than you might realise in helping this channel. And if you like my opinions and you want to see more of my videos, and I will be at the Arsenal match, and I will be in Belgium next week, then do me a little favour. Whack that subscribe button. So, the matches are coming thick and fast, and I keep saying that, and I'm going to continue to keep saying that. We had Barcelona on a Thursday, Bournemouth, longest away trip of the season on a Sunday. We've ticked off Bradford City in the Cup on Wednesday, job done, and a lot of confidence from that. Regardless of the opposition, you can only beat who's in front of you, and if you compare that result to Wimbledon, last season we did so with a lot of comfort, a lot of attacking flair, the likes of Bruno and Joe Linton really getting involved, really making things happen. And of course William Asula saying, Eddie Howe, you might have written me off after a decent start to the season with his goal at Liverpool and then not so good at Leeds, but I'm back. I'm available. So who knows? But yeah, job done on that one, but it's now on to Arsenal. And this has massively turned into, as I joked about at the start, not only because of what Mikel Arteta seems to spout after matches, but for a number of reasons. And I look back to our last Champions League season and that famous 1-0 win at St James's Park, and that's where it started. And Arsenal will not be looking forward to this fixture because they have a history of losing this match, and those points, depending how you look at it, I know you can not try not to worry too much about one match in isolation, but the season they lost 2-0 in Eddie Howe's first season in charge, they missed out on the top four by 2 points, I believe. The season that they lost 1-0 when Gordon scored, was it out from Joe Willock? Did Joe Linton push him? Was it offside? That's what caused this, what feels like a bit of a rivalry now. Makes it a bit more of a tasty match. They missed out by 2 points, I think, on the title that season. So there's a bit of a history there. And they won't be looking forward to the trip up to the northeast, apart from all the pubs at their disposal for the Arsenal fans before the match. But we look forward to this. But we go into this needing goals, and that's we got the win off our backs against Wolves, which was good. That 1-0 win at St James's in our last Premier League home game. That was a one we needed to tick off, but we are still not scoring at one end whilst we are defending so well at the other. And that's the foundation. And what I've been screaming from the rooftops is that I would rather, at this stage of the season, as we leave September, be not conceding many at one end and not scoring at one end with that to work on than leaking a load for fun while scoring loads. Any good team, in my opinion, is built off a good foundation of a good defence, and we have looked absolutely rock solid. But how do we approach Mikel Arteta's slightly new look Arsenal with the likes of Gyökeres, the likes of Eze, into their side? They have spent a lot of money in the summer as he keeps on chasing down that title that it already looks like Liverpool could be running away with, and that's why this match is even more important for Arsenal. How do we tactically beat Mikel Arteta's Arsenal again at St James's Park? Let's get into it. Well, if there is one match that I can, like the geek I am, spend time studying in how Eddie Howe and Mikel Arteta have gone head-to-head tactically, it's Newcastle versus Arsenal more recently, because we played them last season 4 times. And I don't need to remind any Newcastle fan of that because we won 3. And if I cast your mind back to our defeat in our most recent match at the Emirates, that was a day, it might not have been the best performance by any means, but it was a day where we could have been 1 or 2-0 up at half-time. If anyone remembers David Raya in goal, God, he had a blinder. He saved a shot from Bruno. The follow-up he clawed out. He saved a header from Dan Burn. He was in fine form, desperate for that golden glove. And they got the 1-0 win. Declan Rice, couple of errors from us. Great strike from him. and we lost that one narrowly. But I look wider at the matches at St James's Park and how Eddie Howe set up. And look, I will ask you Newcastle fans watching this, how do you like to see Newcastle play football? And I've got no doubt you will say Eddie Howe likes to keep hold of the ball, be on the front foot, press from the front and attack. Well, no. Not when he plays Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. He actually does quite the opposite. And I'm going to share some stats of our possession against Arsenal last season in the matches that we won compared to our average. And look how different they are. Eddie Howe has repeatedly allowed Arsenal to have all of the ball and soak it up and rely on his defence. And if ever there's a season where, yes, it's a concerning way to play and it's not the best on the eye, especially not in front of a home crowd. But if ever there's a defence where I'm happy enough for Eddie Howe to do that, it's this defence that I'm seeing this season. No matter who comes in. Malik Chow's looked good. Botman's played 2 matches in a week. Dan Burn has started almost immaculately so far this season. Fabian Schär, he might be back from injury. Then you've got your fullbacks, Livramento, Hall, Trippier, Nick Pope looking much more back to his best. I'm confident that defensively we've got a solid enough unit where we can allow them to soak up a lot of the ball. We sit in nice and disciplined and we go from there. But more interestingly, you might be thinking, Matthew, you talked at the start about Nick Woltemade being key. Well, let's get into that one. This Arsenal team, much like Newcastle in most of our games, like to press. And with Gyökeres as their new striker coming in from Sport Lisbon, no striker has made more presses, high intense presses in the Premier League this season than him. So they've got a new string to their bow where he will be chasing down no matter what defenders are in front of him. So Eddie Howe, again, in having so much success against Arteta and making it a horrible place to come for the Arsenal fans in St James's Park, he knew that and he has given up that possession style of football in previous matches and he's gone long. And I'm going to share some graphics, some stats on the screen of how many long passes we used when we beat them 2-0 in February in the Carabao Cup to secure our place at Wembley. In a quite similar Arsenal team, I know they've had additions, the Ezes, the Gyökereses, but the point still stands that Arsenal will be looking to press from the front and they will be looking to move in and step on at every opportunity. And 50 plus passes coming over the top. And I'll cast your mind back to our first goal in that match. A ball over the top to he who shall not be named. He flicks it down for Gordon. Gordon plays the return pass. And he who shall not be named is running onto it. And it ends up setting up the first goal for Murphy. I'll take you back to the Emirates when we won 2-0 in the away at the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final. A long ball to Sven Botman. He heads it on for Murphy. And we have our first goal from he who shall not be named. Might get bored of saying that by the end of this video. But long passes have been very, very successful in cutting out that press and saying, do you know what, Arsenal, we're not going to try and play through that. We're going to go over the top here. Nick Woltemade, as much as the jury might be out on him as a striker whilst he beds in for that big price tag at Newcastle, one thing we know he is good at is holding the ball up and linking up and bringing other people in. He likes to have his back to goal in the most old-fashioned style possible. And I honestly believe the German on Sunday, and I do think he'll start, could be key to us getting a lot of success and building up in attack. But that is only going to come from the people around him. Because let's be totally honest, Newcastle fans, I'm not going to sit here and say it worked against Bournemouth in attack, a Woltemade fronted attack. It didn't. We weren't good enough. He didn't have enough support. He didn't have enough people moving around him. Is that because his teammates are still learning him whilst he still learns his teammates? Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. But we've had a full week, maybe a little bit more, in the aftermath of Barcelona, to have one eye on Arsenal and be working on how he links up with the people around him. Cue Anthony Gordon. Anthony Gordon is desperate for a goal in the Premier League. My God, is that boy overdue one. I was chuffed to see him get off the mark against Barcelona, even if it stood for nothing in the end. And it's the likes of him, and I think he will start after serving his league suspension. He needs to be moving off Woltemade. He needs to be coming central at every opportunity because Woltemade is going to have so much groundwork to build up if he's going to follow whatever he wins and lays off to get into the box. And I did a full video on this when he was at Stuttgart, that he is a late arriver into the box. But that's where he needs the people around him. He needs Joe Linton to support him and to be moving off him and link up with him in those close areas. And we know Joe Linton likes to support the forward, and he did it against Wolves. We need people around him and people moving quickly to link up. I remember against Wolves, Woltemade played it to Livramento back to him, and then Woltemade said, Harvey Barnes, on your bike. That's exactly what is going to give us so much success in attack against this Arsenal team. And time again, Eddie Howe has said, I'm not going to have the ball. I'm also not going to play the ball on the floor as much because that's what Mikel Arteta probably wants me to do. And this Arsenal side has got so much quality. Let's go over the top. So I'm not putting the pressure on Nick Woltemade's shoulders in this match at all. We know he's got technical ability against Bradford, he showed it, but he is going to potentially be key here if we're going to adopt the same styles that were so successful for us last season in playing that ball a little bit higher, getting the ball to his feet, and then everyone else moving in and around him. And in those, you've got Gordon, Barnes, Murphy, Alanga. There are plenty of players there with the quality of Bruno and Tonali to be watching them making those off-the-ball runs in behind their men for that to work. No pressure, Nick. No pressure. Right, team news then. Look, let's start with defence, which is the massive debate. And I've seen on social media, everybody is talking about it now. What I don't like on the likes of Twitter and Facebook is the argument that Malik Chow and Botman, because they've played 2 matches in a couple of days, should be the automatic starters now. And the likes of Cher and Burn should be cast to one side. I totally understand the points. That is the youth of our back four. They are both very good ball-playing defenders. Like if I was to compare Botman and Burn, defensively they're both pretty solid. I'd say Dan Burn's better in the air, but ball at the feet, Botman can move the ball faster. He can spread a pass much more confidently than Dan Burn can. So I understand that argument, but I just don't see the need or the requirement to drop at the likes of Dan Burn. I think Malik Chow for Fabian Schär makes total sense. I would even argue that Fabian Schär is in this team now, not because he can spread a ball 50 yards, but it's just for that comfort in carrying the ball out. Newcastle United will always set up with one centre-back sitting a bit deeper in Botman or Burn and one defender who's comfortable to support the midfield and carry it out in Malik Chow or Fabian Schär. So I'd be comfortable with either of them, but I do think Dan Burn's going to play in this match. Dan Burn was captain for us last Sunday and he didn't do much wrong. I understand that people want that future team to be playing now, but let's not talk about Dan Burn or Fabian Schär as if they've done anything wrong this season. They've been solid, and I fully expect Eddie Howe to at least play Dan Burn. Will Fabian Schär be fit? We're being told in Eddie Howe's press conference that he has recovered and he is basically fully available. But I'm maybe in the small minority who's comfortable whoever plays there. Fullbacks for this one, Lewis Hall did so well against Arsenal in certain matches, particularly in our 1-0 win in the league last season. I want Kieran Trippier in the side, and I want Kieran Trippier in the side for his quality in the final third. He's been rested now in midweek. He got a couple of minutes when he came on as a sub. I still think Kieran Trippier offers something in a game like this, and we do lose something in them key passes when he walks over the halfway line. So I would go Livramento at left back, and Lewis Hall is on the cusp of being back in, but I'm always to and fro at how Kieran Trippier comes out when he offers so much quality, even just in his link up down that right-hand side in supporting attacks. So I would go Trippier and Livramento in this one, and I know, please let me know your thoughts. I wouldn't go to a back five, and that's going to... Eddie Howe might. I don't think he will, and the reason I wouldn't, moving on to our midfield, is because there is no way in a game like this that Joe Linton, Bruno and Tonali can be dropped. In my opinion, to play a back five, you've got to sacrifice one of your midfielders because we are not going to play with 2 up top. You don't want to drop a winger, so you're looking at Gordon and a Murphy or an Alanga on the right. I think he's got to go 4-3-3. I really do. And if we take the lead early, if it's backs to the wall a little bit, you've always got that option, as we saw at the Emirates in our semi-final first leg last season. We can move to 5 at the back. God, we were almost 6 at the back in that game. So midfield picks itself. The right-hand side, I'm going to go Jacob Murphy from the start. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I don't think Alanga is suited to our team just yet in terms of us having the ball. I still feel like he looks like a player that's finding his feet, which frustrates me a little bit. But Jacob Murphy needs to come into this one for defensive discipline. Arsenal will attack in numbers. They will utilise that left-hand side in every opportunity. Martinelli might come back in for this. He's been amongst the goals when he's come off the bench. I think Jacob Murphy's got a job there. And the quality of the ball he can put in the box, as we saw for Woltemade's goal against Wolves, that's an important asset to have as well. So Murphy starts. Alanga's an incredible weapon, depending how high Arsenal play in this one, to bring off the bench. And then Anthony Gordon on the left picks himself. The importance of him coming inwards and supporting Woltemade and running off Woltemade centrally is going to be good. And the fact that Anthony Gordon has played more as a striker recently might help in him being able to make those runs. So that's my team. Back four, centre-backs, whoever's available. I think Dan Burn definitely will play. Chow or Shea. Trippier, Livramento, normal midfield three, and then Gordon, Woltemade and Murphy. Let me know yours. But now let's get into Black and White Banters, one to watch. Black and White Banters, one to watch. You know, like that one you should keep an eye on, like. This actually is a tricky one. For as much as we make jokes about Arsenal, I think Arsenal are a quality team with so many good players, and Mikel Arteta has made a lot of good additions in the summer. The jury's still out for me on Gyökeres, but I could have picked him here. We're used to playing against an Arsenal team that don't have an out-and-out striker, so to speak, more like a Kai Havertz. He gives them a different dimension. I think Eberechi Eze is a player I'm a massive fan of, and he didn't play against Man City from the start. Will he come in for this one away from home at Newcastle? I'd be a little bit surprised, but we'll see. But I'm going to go Bukayo Saka. Recently back from injury. I think if I share a graphic on the screen showing the chances created for Arsenal, he is still their biggest threat. And I always think when Bukayo Saka starts, if you keep him quiet from that right-hand side, you win half the battle, because their midfield only offers so much creativity. I love Declan Rice. I'd have Declan Rice in a Newcastle shirt in a heartbeat. But, you know, Odegaard's touch and go, so I won't touch on him because he can be great on his day, but we still don't know. I think he might come back in. But Bukayo Saka is my one to watch. You know what time it is now. It's course time for some Black and White Banter stats. Stats. That's right, it's stats time. And look, Arsenal have only lost one of their last 16 Premier League away games, which is a ridiculous statistic in itself, and fair play to them defensively and in attack. That's him. Their fans are getting their money who travel away. But the last two times that they've lost consecutive away matches, guess who the second team was to beat them? Yeah, that's right, Newcastle United, as recent as November last year when we beat them 1-0, when he who shall not be named scored that header. So when they do normally lose two back-to-back Premier League away games, Newcastle are normally involved. Under crybaby Mikel Arteta, Arsenal have only lost more away matches in all competitions to Manchester City 5 than what they have against Newcastle 4. This isn't a ground that Arsenal fans like to travel to. This isn't a ground that the Arsenal players like to come to. And fingers crossed that barren run for the Spaniard crybaby continues on Sunday. And a player I've already mentioned is quite crucial to this match on Sunday, Anthony Gordon. Well, David Brooks of Bournemouth, he's the only player to have more shots on goal in the Premier League this season without scoring than Gordon, who's had 10 now without finding the net. He's one of 5 players who's got over a 1.0 XG that still hasn't put the ball in the net. Anthony Gordon is certainly due one. Back from suspension soon, let's do it against the Gunners. Right then, it's that dreaded time again. It's match prediction time. And look, this is a one where I am going a little bit head over heart. I will sometimes throw into these match previews and say heart and think with my heart and go for a win. But I just think Arsenal are struggling to score a little bit. Newcastle, we know about our goal scoring issues. But we've both sides have been quite good defensively as well, and the stats are there to prove that. All of the top defensive stats, Newcastle and Arsenal are going neck and neck. So I expect this to be a tight game. I'm going to go for a score draw in this one. I really hope I'm proved a little bit better than that. I really hope we don't lose this match. Arsenal will not be looking forward to this. I think Eddie Howe always back into tactically. Really outwit this new look Mikel Arteta side, particularly with the likes of Gyökeres coming into their team. But it's going to be difficult. Make no mistake about that. But Arsenal will be under a lot of pressure if Liverpool win their game, because they could potentially go 8 points behind Liverpool if you want to see Arsenal in the title race this season this early. So 1-1 is my score prediction. Let us know yours down in the comments, Newcastle fans. And if you've enjoyed this match preview, do me a little favour. Whack that like. Get that subscribe, get Black and White Banter across all social media where there's all sorts of stuff going on. And I will see you on the next video, which will be the instant reaction, the full match vlog, and hopefully toasting some more Arteta tears and another excuse. But I think the Spaniard might be running out at this point. Keep the faith, Newcastle fans, as always, and on to Sunday we go. Away the lads!